For the past few years, we've been talking about the use of insecticides in agriculture and the effect it's having on the pollinators that are dependent on the ecosystem. Sometimes the discussions were heated, and sometimes the discussions were only inclusive to one side of the argument. Putting supercharged emotions to one side, what's been learned about the situation? What can be done to protect bees and give farmers the tools they need to be able to protect their crops? Last week, I visited the Honey Hollow Apiary and Gardens outside Indianola, and that's where I met Iowa Honey Producers Association President Jason Foley. And here's the discussion we had about where things hit a bumpy road between pollinators and agriculture, but where he also sees improvement and where things can go in the future.
So I know you mentioned, the agriculture area, and that's been a big topic because, obviously farmers are trying to protect their crops, but obviously it's having a bigger toll, on nature and stuff. I mean, what do you see, or what kind of message can we send to farmers that say, hey, what can we do to help alleviate that, where we can still protect the crops, still keep the, raising the food, but yet protect the bees as much as we can?
It's a real tough one to argue and stuff. Corn does not need bees at all for producing its stuff. In fact, corn pollen has such a low nutritional content on it. Honeybees won't hit normal seed corn and normal feed corn at all. They will hit sweet corn for some reason.
Okay. And
then they'll hit some of those ornamental types, but the stuff that we actually grow here in mass bulk in Iowa, bees won't even touch.
Okay.
However, the pollen is airborne and bees are statically charged, so they unfortunately incur problems by just picking up the pollen on them.
Okay.
Grow up inside the plant.
Right.
Unfortunately, those neonics are also expressed in the pollen of the plant. And so if bees are near corn, no beekeeper really likes to keep his bees right near corn or soybeans. Soybeans can be okay because they don't produce near as much pollen, and actually having bees on soybeans in bloom, you will actually get a higher yield because they can help soybeans go ahead and pollinate. Even though soybeans are self-pollinating, the bees are visiting them, they're collecting pollen, and bees are the only insect out there that when they leave the hive in the morning and they visit a blossom off of some plant, that's the only type of blossom they're going to visit all day long. Now, there's 80,000 of them leaving the colony that's a little high. There's 40 to 50,000 of them leaving the colony out of a total of 80,000 living in the colony. But, Susie over here stops at that soybean plant, and she's only going to visit soybean the rest of the day. So she helps get a bigger yield of soybean.
Okay.
So even in that aspect, she's helping out. Now, her friend Jill, she went to, it's the wrong time of year for that. She went to a clover blossom. She's only going to visit clover the rest of the day because it does not help sharing clover pollen onto soybean. It doesn't produce soybeans.
Right.
You need soybean on soybean. And that's where honeybees are the most efficient pollinator in the animal kingdom. Now, some people will say bumblebees do a better job, but that's organism specific. So like with tomatoes, bees can't really get up inside of a tomato blossom. Bumblebees have a longer tongue, and they actually vibrate their bodies when they touch a tomato plant, and they knock pollen out of it.
Okay.
And that's how they're a better pollinator of a specific crop. But any crop that bees can actually get their tongue inside and feed off of, they are the most ideal pollinator out there, because bumblebees don't do that trick of only going to tomatoes. If they visit tomatoes, they'll also go to dandelions, they'll also go to clover, they'll also go to black lotus and everything else that's out there. Locust, sorry. They'll visit everything they want to, and hopefully you just get a cocktail of the right pollen that helps out the plants out there.
Okay.
The industry has already taken steps where instead of having neonics last in the soil up to 7 years, which is what the first ones were, the components wouldn't break down in soil for up to 7 years. So even though they were coating the kernels in the neonics, you had residuals in the ground that also were coming up in the plant and giving a higher and higher dose. So by year 7, you had a huge dose of neonicotinoids coming up in the plants, being expressed in the pollen. And unfortunately, neonics are a chemical that can bind with beeswax. So the bees are bringing it back, and it gets in higher and higher concentrations over the years in the beeswax. So you're turning over multiple folds of the nasty chemical.
Okay.
So when they tested neonics the first year with honeybees, no, it didn't kill them off, because it was only giving them a 1-year exposure, and it was just a light dose because it also was clean in the ground and everything else. Well, subsequent years we found out, after neonics were legalized and put out there, it actually had a huge dramatic effect on honeybees. So the chemical companies are doing the right thing, and they're trying to get chemicals that break down after just 1 year. So they're taking away a facet of that was horrible, where you get 7 years of concentration buildup. So that's been a huge help. They're also trying to develop strains of corn and soybeans that could get away from even having neonics, so that instead they're doing plants that now are releasing alarm chemical pheromones, as just the plant itself smells like an aphid being attacked, or smells like a cutworm being attacked. So those bugs don't want to feed on corn and soybeans, because it sounds like their buddies are being killed over. Smells like their buddies are being killed. So I don't believe those plants have been released yet to farmers, but I know that's some of the research going on, so that they can take the evolution of insecticides to the next level and get away from neonicotinoids, because neonics are actually a derivative of nicotine. And for you and me, it goes ahead and affects our nervous system in such a way that we all know that smoking is addictive, and it stimulates you in certain ways and stuff. Insects have a different nervous system than you and I. In insects, the neonics or nicotine actually just turns off their nervous system. So it doesn't like dissolve the insect, it doesn't burn it up, it doesn't kill it in other ways that you might think chemicals would. When the chemical infects an insect to a certain point, it just turns off its nervous system and it drops to the ground and dies. Well, in honeybees, this is where we get into the whole talk of colony collapse disorder. And basically they term the colony collapse disorder is where you get to some point where bees fly away from the colony and they can't figure out how to track their way back to the colony. So you lose that whole adult generation there. Well, when you lose that adult generation, bees have this natural habit of they'll move teenage bees that shouldn't be doing the job into that job, and they'll send them out. Well, those bees also don't return to the colony, and over the course of a few days, your colony just moves out of a hive for no apparent reason. And it's because they got to a tipping point where they weren't ever able to track back to their colony. Bees have nerve bundles down their body that do specific jobs. And one of the nerve bundle's jobs is being able to orient and track their way back to the colony. So what science in other countries have pointed out, or university studies that have not had funding in part by chemical companies, and I'm not dissing anybody.
Nope, I get it.
But they pointed out that basically the neonics get to a point that it damages the bees' ability to track back to their colony, and it cleans out the colony. And that's where colony collapse disorder really comes from. You have some studies that'll say, no, it's really varroa mites, it's really disease that does colony collapse. But then you get to a factor of the same diseases that kill honeybees aren't present in bumblebee colonies, and bumblebees don't have mites in them. But they suffer from colony collapse disorder. So if the two smoking guns that they say could also be colony collapse disorder aren't even present in this other species, but it suffers from colony collapse the same way honeybees do, how could it be those smoking guns? And then you jump over to the really big one. Over in Australia, they still don't have the varroa mite, which is the big smoking gun they say carries these diseases and causes colony collapse. They still suffer from colony collapse in Australia, where varroa mites aren't even present. So again, you've got this. Well, how the heck could that be present? Right. And they've actually seen colony collapse basically go away in areas of the world where they've gone back and illegalized neonics. Okay. So now colony collapse isn't near the problem it used to be, because again, Bayer and Monsanto and the other chemical companies, they're doing the right thing
Right.
by reducing the problems.
Okay.
So we're getting there. We're getting there.
And so I know a lot of these ag organizations have always been also, you go to farm shows stuff, they'll bring out the pollinator plants and things like that and plant these. Are those helping at least give back a little bit of what maybe they might be losing out along a fence line or something like that?
Definitely if there's ditches that are in, anywhere, not just Iowa, because I've seen Iowa take the major interstates and try to plant them and stuff with them. That's going to keep you from being in a desert zone where maybe you have 20 miles this way and 20 miles that way that there's not a single blooming plant that the bees could even feed on. That'll at least alleviate that problem. There's a program that's pollinator strips that are out there, and it shows real promise for first year colonies, but I really want to see the data on multiple year colonies because coming from an experienced beekeeper, myself and every other commercial guy out there, your bees don't do good if you stick them in the middle of corn and soybean year after year after year. You can take brand new colonies and you can stick them in the most wretched area possible and they'll do great because it's all brand new comb that they're building that first year. It's all fresh bees, that's all disease free, it's everything. But once they get on to year number 2, number 3 with that old comb, you really got to have them in nicer environments for them to do well.
Don't forget to check out our previous video with Jason Foley and learning about Honey Hollow Apiary and Gardens and their business and also the work being done by the Iowa Honey Producers Association. You can find that on our YouTube channel or on the May 31st episode of Ag Matters PM. For the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, I'm Dustin Huffman.